Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode on the Couch Potato Queens Network. I am launching a brand new show tonight, and I am letting this baby sail. I'm here with my good friend Brandon, and we are introducing the Couch Potato Queens MTV Mix. Brandon, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself? Excited to start.
Feeling fabulous, and I'm so excited for our guest. Brandon, tell the people a little bit about you, though, and your vision for this show.
Well, way back in the day, I actually had my own talk show. It was called Talk Entertainment. My last episode actually aired 10 years ago. It's time is fly by. The guest we're having tonight has been a huge fan favorite on Talk Entertainment, and he has went on to do a huge thing since his time in the Real World DC. So I'm very ecstatic. I'm very ecstatic to be a part of this. I'm ready to get started whenever you are, Sam.
Let's do it. Okay, so as Brandon said, our guest tonight was on Real World DC. He has gone on to do films. He has gone on to win Emmys. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, put your hands together for Mike Manning. Hi, Mike.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great, actually.
You look great. I mean, you have like a fine wine, Mike.
All right, I'll take it.
So first of all, I think the question starts like, how did you even get on the Real World? How did you get started? Because that's sort of, it seems like, started your whole journey.
Yeah, I was really lucky to be pulled on the show, and it's one of those things that it's like I not to get too like hippy dippy about it, but it's like one of those things where I think the universe just gave me something, and I say that because I was going to school in Colorado. I was going to school for business. I've always loved acting, and I did theater when I was much younger. So but to me, I didn't have any professional actors in my universe. I didn't realize you could make a living being a professional actor. So I just always did it for fun. I did it on the side. I was going to school for business, and my best friend in business school in college, he comes up to me like in the library. We're studying for a finance test. And he comes up to me and he said, "Hey, Mike, there's an open casting call for this show called Real World. I know you used to do theater and you used to do, acting. Like, can you help me? It's an audition. Can you help me get on the show?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, but like you have to buy me lunch." And so I essentially followed him to the audition to help him get on the show, and then they picked me. So.
And there we go. And you
The rest was history.
And the rest is history. And you are a little bit of an LGBT icon. You were openly bisexual on the show right out the gate. What was that like for you? I mean, it was early stage. It was 2009.
Yeah, we filmed 2009 and it aired 2010. And it was terrifying. I mean, I when they cast me, I mean, it was at a time in my life where the casting director, I met him at this random audition, like I said, and I go in there and I'm speaking in front of a camera to a stranger, and he's asking me things about my life that up until that point, nobody had asked me before. And I basically ended up just spilling my guts to this random stranger. And at the end of the interview, he goes, "Wait a second. So you like girls, but you like guys, and you're a Christian, and you were a wrestler, you played hockey, you did theater, you're sexually confused, and you come from like a religious family." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Cool. What's your name again?" And so it honestly, like when I went to Washington, D.C., and I'm so grateful that it was in D.C. because I feel like it allowed me to access like politics and activism. Whereas if we had our season in Cancun, I would have been a very different person. And so I go to DC, and I remember the first week in the house, we had cameras everywhere. We had no privacy. We had, we would wear microphones in our necklaces. We had cameras in the walls, in the headboards. There was a camera that somebody was following you around with at all times. So we had zero privacy. And I remember my first week in the house, I'm sleeping in the bed, and I can't sleep, and I know there's cameras everywhere, and I'm just freaking out. And I remember thinking like, and Real World is 3.5 months. So you live in this house for 3.5 months, and then they cut it into whatever episodes, they're going to make. And I remember thinking, like, my grandma's going to watch this show. My friends, like everybody's going to watch the show. And I had only come out to my family at that point. It was like a brand new thing for me to even talk about, and even in my own mind. And so I remember thinking, like, I was like, Mike, can you fake it? Can you fake it for 3.5 months? Can you just be straight? And it might be easier, because that's what my parents told me to do. They said, if you go on the show, don't tell anybody, because it's going to make your life really difficult. And that's the only piece of advice I got. And so I remember laying in bed, and after a week, I was like, you know what? I can't do it. Number one, I can't pretend to be somebody else for 3.5 months. I'm going to be exhausted. And number two, if I have an opportunity here and a platform to be my true self and to show the world that you can be a Christian, and you can, and like, if I have a chance to break some of these stereotypes that I personally hadn't seen broken on TV before, if I don't take advantage of that and do that, then I will forever regret that decision. And that's when I sort of came out to the cast members the next day.
Mm-hmm. And I really, I think, took your story to heart. And I think Brandon probably relates a lot as well. I came from a very small religious community, and there's a whole lot of this going on.
Yeah.
And so I got that struggle of coming from that religious upbringing, and that fear of people seeing, particularly on national television.
Yeah. It was terrifying. But nowadays, I sort of use it as a tool to still even talk about. I still go to church. I still go to Bible study, and it's mostly gay dudes that we talk about the Bible, and it's like, this is now a part of my life. And it wasn't me. At the end of the day, it wasn't me choosing a path to follow. It was me making my own path, and I think that that's why people like yourself, that had only seen up until that point people fitting different stereotypes. I think that that's why people connected to my story. And I didn't do anything special. I just lived authentically, and there happened to be a camera there.
Yeah. I mean, but living authentically, particularly in that, even at that time, 2009, 2010, was not the most comfortable thing to do. And so I think it takes a lot of courage, and I think it does help, the expansive reach of a show like The Real World to people who don't have access to a gay community. Is the same thing for me with RuPaul's Drag Race. We're seeing strong LGBT people on screen just being normal, living their life. It's really powerful to see. So thank you for, being your authentic self at such an early stage.
Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome. Brandon, you got some questions.
I actually made Sam take a crash course in the whole season, so I think he binge watched it last weekend before this interview. I'm like, good job, Sam.
Yeah, I did. No, I was like, I'm gonna be, because I've been doing a Survivor podcast where we've had several past survivors. We actually just had legendary LGBT survivor John Carroll on, talked about his goat farm and life after Survivor. But we have a few different podcasts, so we've been doing a lot of interviews, but we always love it when we get an LGBT guest. So I was like, yours is the first full season of The Real World I've ever seen.
Nice. There you go. I don't even think I've seen the full season. There you go.
Lived the full season. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. And I don't have a goat farm, just to cover.
You don't? Okay. You aren't raising endangered goats, because that was very important to John. Oh, well, yes. So I got my crash course, but Brandon's been familiar for a while.
So like I said, it's been about 10 years since last time we spoke, Mike, and we want to get on some more stuff that you have done before. But I guess one of my major questions is, do you still talk to those other 7 crazy roommates you had for 3 months? You keep in touch?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to talk to you again, and it's almost like a blast from the past. For so long, I didn't talk about The Real World, because in Hollywood, I moved here for acting after the show, basically, and I wanted to be taken seriously. And at that point there was a stigma about reality TV. So I actually didn't mention Real World on anything, not on my resume, not on anything. And now it seems to be coming up again in my life, and I'm at a point where now I'm sort of proud. Now it's like I have an origin story instead of having something that I tried to hide for so long. So yeah, I think with the cast members, it's just like that relationship is just like it would be with any other person. There were cast members that I got along with, and there were cast members that I probably will never speak to again, and I'm fine with that. So I think, I mean, Emily and I got really close. Andrew was from Colorado, so I still talk to him for a while. We've sort of lost touch. I actually just talked to Josh the other day. So he's doing celebrity boxing in Philly, I think, and he's like,
I could see him doing that.
Yeah, he's gonna box like Aaron Carter or something. Who knows? And so I just caught up with Josh the other day, and then I think I saw Ashley once or twice out here. I saw Erica in Vegas once. We gambled together. So I think that's about it. Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds awesome. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit. So you've obviously been in a whole bunch of different things. What was your very, very first breakout role you had? What would you say would be the biggest one you've had since your time began? I know Cloud 9 was probably huge for you, but what would you consider to be the best one?
Yeah, I think Cloud 9 was the project that really gave me a larger platform and really showed people that I could be a part of a big budget movie with a company like Disney. Up until that point, I had some guest stars. I did Hawaii Five-0. I think I did Major Crimes right before or right after. I had done a Disney show called Crash and Bernstein, but they were like these little one-day guest spots, that sort of thing, one episode. And Cloud 9, we filmed in Utah for like 2 months, 2.5 months, something like that. And that was the first big budget project where I became a different character. I became this professional snowboarder. And then after that, it definitely helped advance my career. And then since then, I've been a part of, I just finished a 6-month contract on Days of Our Lives, which was really
Congratulations.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
That's huge. That's a big deal.
No, I mean, it was great for me. It was a really great character. The people were awesome to work with. And then I have actually currently right now, I have a film executive produced by Spike Lee in theaters. It's called Son of the South, and it's a civil rights story. So it's like something really close to my heart, a story I was really proud to be a part of, and that's in theaters right now. So
Mike, that's huge. That's so cool.
Yeah, thank you.
You must be so jazzed. Like, do you just wake up and are like, wow, I get to do movies. That's the dream.
It's really it really is. It's really nice. I think so much of acting and the entertainment industry is rejection, and it's easy to forget. It's easy to not celebrate your wins, and you'll get a job and you'll shoot it and you'll be jazzed for like a month, and then 15 auditions later where people slam a door in your face and tell you no, then you're right back to like feeling like you're worthless and that you have no place in California or New York or wherever you are. And that's one thing that I've really tried to work on this past year is like really celebrating the wins and really trying to be grateful for like what you're saying. Because every time I talk to my family about it or my friends, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's huge." And I'm like, you know what? You're right. That is a big I can remember that.
Yeah. So I know from a local level, because I can absolutely relate, so much fun when you book a part. I mean, it's the best feeling in the world. And then, you get to like pal around and you get to do dumb stuff for a while. And it's so much fun. And then, but yes, a lot of rejection. And I know that you have, since your time on the show, have been more mask presenting. Obviously, we're cool with all ranges of sort of gender expression, but do you find you do see LGBT people are often not as considered for roles, or face some discrimination in that sense? Have you experienced that at all working in Hollywood?
I will say that have never become aware of a role that I have not been given because they research my dating life.
Mhm.
So I will say that I've never, in my mind, I would like to be judged by the audition or, judged by the work that they see and not by what they think is going to come out in like whatever their mind, wherever their mind is. And I've done, I did a movie years ago called What Would Jesus Do? And then another couple years ago, I was one of the leads in God's Not Dead 3, which the God's Not Dead series are like some of the biggest Christian blockbuster movies that are made right now. And to be fair, when I was going through the audition process, I was thinking like, oh no, they're gonna check my Instagram and they're not gonna hire me.
They're gonna see the thirst traps.
They're gonna see me like holding hands with the guy, and they're not gonna, cast me. And I got the role, and I did it, and it was I had a girlfriend in the movie, and then at the end of the movie, we talked about guys together, and it was fine.
I love that. It's great. It is really heartening to hear, though, that you haven't faced that sort of discrimination, because I'm sure there are plenty of young bisexual and gay men who are looking to sort of follow in your footsteps, and it's nice to know that the world's becoming a nicer place.
I think it is. I truly think it is. And I'm not, I think the world has made significant strides even in the last 10 years. I mean, with, beginning with like Queer as Folk, and then you have like Will and Grace, and then you have Glee, and you have Modern Family, showing the family element. And then you have, I think a bunch of these shows have opened the eyes of the world in terms of LGBT people breaking stereotypes and fitting these different molds, because it's easy to discriminate against an idea. It's hard to discriminate against a person. And a story that you connect with, and and this person is a dad, this person's a brother, this person's a sister, this person's a daughter. Like it's harder when you know people or when you see their stories on film and television to discriminate against them. And I think that because there are so many stories being shared nowadays, Hollywood has become a much more accepting place. That's not to say that discrimination doesn't happen. And I think that, anybody trying to make it in this industry has to understand that they're judged for anything, for a bad haircut, for a bad, matching their clothes the wrong way, anything that they put out there into the world, they're judged by that. And so I would say, on one hand, be smart about what you put out there and the type of brand that you're creating for yourself. On the other hand, don't ever let anybody make you feel like less than. And you do not have to sacrifice who you are in your soul and who you love to make it in this industry.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Thank you so much, Mike.
That's awesome. Good point. Have you realized anything that's changed, obviously, with the pandemic and everything going on? How has Hollywood changed? I know you had some roles previously ahead of the pandemic, but how has it changed post-pandemic? You guys have to be separated at all times?
So, yeah. When I was shooting on Days of Our Lives, I was tested every single morning. We shot at Burbank Studios. I would drive to the studios. I would be tested. I would wait in my car until the rapid test was cleared. And then I would go to set. I would sit in my dressing room the whole time. And then every time that I was outside of my dressing room, including during rehearsals, I would have a mask on. And then I would take it off just right before we were going to shoot. So it was very strict, very by the book, 6 feet apart, masks on everybody, testing. And so that there was a learning curve with that in terms of set and working during COVID. And then since then, the entertainment industry was frozen for so long, with just everything being closed down. Now I think things are opening back up again, but every audition is still a self-tape or on Zoom, or nobody is meeting in person yet. So it's coming back slowly but surely, but it's still not there yet.
Yeah. How hard is that to audition for stuff via Zoom and stuff? Obviously, you have to personalize, but you don't get that experience on Zoom.
I hate it because there are scenes where you walk into a room, or I had a scene today where I, did this thing and you're supposed to be dancing and it's like, how can you do, like, I'm on a swivel chair. I guess that's what I get on Zoom. And so it's tough. It's also tough to express your personality and just show like what you're going to bring to a role that's above and beyond just this little audition tape. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I always love going into the rooms, but I do think that self-tapes, there is a lot that you can do with self-tapes, and if done correctly, you can really, try different takes and try different things and take risks that I think you wouldn't be able to do in the room if you only get one shot. So it's a trade-off.
And
I feel that. Having done a few Zoom auditions, I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of it's too is they don't get to know your personality because you're like in a casting call, you can kind of like sway them a little bit, but like with Zoom, you really can't. It's like people are talking over each other and like you can't really be yourself on Zoom.
Because I think Zoom,
distractions.
I would think that a Zoom interview is probably the worst because you, at least the ones I've done, it's almost like an audition, but it's on the computer screen. You only get one take. And then, or maybe two, and you're talking with the director, but that's basically it. And it's like a 10-minute block. At least with a self-tape, that's like you're creating a scene. You can try things. You can, if you mess up a word, you can just take it again. It's much closer to what you're going to get on an actual set. So I would much rather do a self-tape than on Zoom trying to be an actor with one take on the computer screen.
On a swivel chair.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. But anyway, but at least we get to do things like this. I mean, technology is not all bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm loving the future more and more every day. Now, one of the things that I know got disrupted was the Emmys, but you were an Emmy winner.
Yeah, that was I kind of joke with my family that all of 2020 needs to just get out of here, but July can stay. Because July is when I found out that I won an Emmy, and I was, to be honest with you, I had no idea. I did not think it was going to happen. Had zero expectations, and I'm sitting here on Zoom watching the pre-ceremony or whatever, and they're announcing everything, and I just remember the other producers. We were like on a Zoom I was on the Zoom with the other producers and everything. And then they played the acceptance speech. And that's when everybody was shocked all together. And I think it was a collective, like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, like everybody just went, and we were just like, what? Like, wait, did they mess up? We all thought it was a joke. We thought we were being punked. And
I don't know the Emmys punks people, but I would love to see it.
Listen,
we know the Oscars does. The Oscars does with Moonlight.
Yeah, I thought Ashton was going to pop out, take it. But I actually still, and this is, goes to show you how insecure like actors and people in entertainment are, because I still thought that it was a mistake until the statue arrived in the mail. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is real. It has my name on it. Like this, I did win this. Oh,
it's not real till it's real, baby. It's not real till it's in my hand.
It was going to get lost in the mail. They were going to run out of statues, like all these things. I didn't know it was going to happen, but I was like,
budget ran out. It's like COVID, it's too expensive.
Yeah, COVID. Sorry, our statue maker got COVID. Like I didn't know what was going to happen, but it wasn't real to me until I was holding that statue, and then it was a pretty cool feeling.
And you gave yourself a whole little event per Instagram.
Oh, no.
Oh, I saw the Instagram.
I did. I think I was like still in my underwear, but like from the top up, I put like a nice shirt on and like a bow tie and my jacket, and I like actually showered that day and like did my hair. Keep in mind, this is like the fall of last year. We're still deep in COVID. You're not seeing anybody. So, and it got to the point where I would like dress up to go to the grocery store because I didn't leave my house. I was wearing sweatpants. Yeah.
Girl, same.
We all get it. We get it. So I dressed up and like got ready. And then I had like a little photo shoot with my Emmy for myself just to remember the excitement, just like we were talking about earlier. So I wanted photos to look back on when I was in it and excited, so that when I'm depressed and sad, I have something to remind me that, things aren't as bad as sometimes I make them out to be.
That's beautiful. That's so sweet.
Mm.
So, what can I ask? Where does the statue live now?
So we're in my little home office right now. If you go out that door is my front door on the other side, and the Emmy is sitting on this, like in my living room. It's like on this chest. Right by the front door, so if somebody tries to break in, I can just like stab
it. Form and function, baby. But sharp, it's got pointy little edges.
Yeah. What kind of story would that be? Like, man saves his house by stabbing an intruder with an Emmy.
I think that's a move. I mean, if you want me to write that, I will write the script and send it to you.
There you go. Do it. Let's make it happen. It's like the Hollywood murder.
Exactly. I mean, what a great. I mean, you could have like a Julius Caesar moment where someone gets like combination like stabbed, bludgeoned with like a whole EGOT, which would be.
Ooh, there you go. There you go.
No, we aren't even gonna put it out there. Gaga's been through enough lately.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm sure, Brandon, I'm sure you've got more questions.
No, actually, we keep going. So
we just keep going. We're just rolling.
Keep going. We're almost out of time, but we can keep going for a little bit. What is the craziest fan encounter you have had so far? What do you have any crazy stories? Anything like that? Getting recognized on the street? I'm sure there has to be some.
What would you say?
So I'm sure there has to be some.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are definitely the Disney movie. I think in my career, there have been projects that have opened me up to specific fan bases. And so, like when I did Real World, it was like college students that love reality TV and like gay men that thought that I was attractive, or like the LGBT community as a whole that respected like the Washington, D.C. HRC stuff. So that was like, I had like the gays and college students from MTV. And then when I did the Disney movie, I had like 9 to 15-year-old girls. And there was a period of a year or two where I would go into the grocery store and they would be like, they would like look at me and like look at their phone and look at me and look at their phone. And then they would come up and ask me, and then I would say yes, and then they would scream and cry and, you know, picking up cereal, and I didn't know what to do. And so there have been some of those. And then like when I did God's Not Dead, I actually went to the theater to see the movie with some friends. We had like a little, hey, let's go to like see a theater and let's go to a screening. And there was a youth group in front of me of like 30, I'll say high school students. And as we were walking out, I was saying goodbye to one of my friends, and one of the high school students goes, "Wait, were you in the movie we just saw?" And I said, "Yeah." And like immediately, like 30 high school students are like, "Oh my gosh, yes!" And so that was kind of cool. And then I will say my mom is a big supporter of mine, and so she always sends me things to like sign. And she was bragging about me. My grandmother she passed away last year. Yeah, I mean, she was wonderful, but she would always tell all of her friends about me, and then she would call me and ask me about like these little roles and these little things. And so every time I would visit her, my fan base there were like women in their 90s. So
that was my favorite fan base. Like,
oh yeah. No, my grandmother, she came to my house. My mother and my sister flew to Los Angeles to surprise me for my birthday, and they brought my grandmother, and we were so close, and I love her so much. And I have her picture like right there in my office. And she had so much life, and she came here, and everybody's hanging out, and cut to an hour into the party, there's a table, a 4-top in my backyard, and she's sitting at the table, and in all the other chairs, there's other people talking to her, and there's a line by this table. There's a line, and I go up, and I'm like, wait, this is what are people waiting for? So I go up to the line and I say, what are you waiting in line for? And everybody's holding a glass of wine, almost like an offering in this line. And I'm like, what are you waiting in line for? And they said, oh, to talk to the Gram, like the Gram, like she's a queen. Like they're waiting for their offering. As soon as she would finish her glass of wine, somebody would stand up, somebody else with a full glass of wine would sit down, give her the wine, and she would continue telling stories. And it was just like that, in a nutshell, summarizes who my grandmother was.
Incredible. A queen, like a true queen.
True queen. Yeah. Yeah.
True
queen. Talking about a true queen on Couch Potato Queens.
Exactly. That she's the one. And your mom was so cute on The Real World as well. I mean, that was so, it warmed my heart to see how she worked through sort of her preconceived notions and issues she had. Was that pretty true off of the show as well? Did that, I assume, since you're still talking, that relationships continue to grow?
Yes, it did. And I'm so proud of my mom for going through that journey from when I told her I was going to be on the show and then to visiting. And it all happened in front of the camera. It's like we would talk on the phone once in a while, but I didn't see her because I was filming the show. So when she came to visit me and I gave her a tour of the Human Rights Campaign and I gave her, I had her meet the roommates and I meet some of my coworkers and she met this coworker who, had like her name was also Susan, and her partner had a 7-year-old daughter together, and they had a family, and that's what my mother's always wanted for me, is to have a family. And when she saw all those things were possible, it was like a switch happened, and she came to me, and that lunch is one of my favorite scenes in the entire season, when she says to me, "I'm sorry for telling you not to be yourself." And it's like in that moment, I still get emotional when I think about it, because that was 1000% genuine. And that was 1000% exactly what I needed to hear at that moment, to then give me the strength to continue being who I was and be proud and be open and, almost to like aggressively, like after that, I was like, I'm an activist. If anybody gets in my way, I will pummel them. Like, how dare you? Like, keep your hate at home. Like I became, that was like gas in the tank, and I became energized in being an activist, and it was because of that moment with my mother and me knowing that she would love me unconditionally.
And you remained an activist for a good amount of time after the show, correct?
Yeah, yes, I did, and I still am. I mean, I have a production company now, and I produce documentaries. I do scripted as well, but I do documentaries. And like the one behind me, it's called Kidnapped for Christ, and that one is about child abuse, mostly with LGBT kids in reform camps. I did another documentary called The Death and Life of Marsha P. Johnson, about the civil rights movement and like the trans community and their role in sort of the birth and evolution and building of the LGBT civil rights movement. And, I think these documentaries are a way that I still scratch that activist itch while being an entertainer and an actor and a producer and that sort of thing.
That's incredible, Mike. I because it's, when you're given a platform, I don't think it's a requirement, but it's so rewarding to see someone who does something with it.
Thank you.
Someone who really makes use of their voice. And I think you're absolutely doing that. And it's incredible to see.
Thank you.
I'm freaking out. I'm so excited.
Are you fangirling? Are you fangirling?
Like a very short period of time become like not just a casual fan, not just a casual viewer. I'm like, no, this is like a Mike Manning stan account now. What a gem. You're such a gem, Mike.
Oh, thank you, Sam. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. What's your tattoo?
What's my tattoo? Oh, this one's an octopus.
I love that.
Oh, his name's Harold. Thank you.
Love that.
Harold, you named your tattoo, Sam.
Yes, of course I named my tattoo Harold. And once everything's opening up again, there's gonna be a lot more coverage. Okay. I got a few others. I got my ankles done in a back alley in China. Story for another time.
Because why not?
But it's a lot of fun because I know you got a couple tattoos as well.
Yeah, I do. I have my dog's paw print on my hip, and then I have a tribal on my back. I have a feather right here, and then I have a cross right here on my arm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I remember you had 2 of them on the show, right?
Yep. Yeah. So they've multiplied since then. No back alley China tattoo, but
I'll take you sometime. Okay,
Right.
I'll walk up with you. They'll tell you what the price is. I'll go Taiguela, and you know they'll hiss at me. It'll be great. We'll have a great time. It'll be super fun.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Infection and all. Can't wait.
Hey, my ankles turned out fine. One of my little lions lost a paw in the Philippines. But that was only because I went backpacking right after I got ankle tattoos. So.
Okay, I'll put that on my list of what not to do after I get
exactly. Just don't go backpacking through another Asian country.
I mean, but now you have a story though. It's like, why does your lion have 4 toes? And it's like, oh, backpacking in Thailand. Like,
exactly. I'm all about the story too. I'm all about the adventure of it all. So, Brandon, did you have any other? Oh, I actually did. I know I have another question. You're premiering at CineQuest this weekend.
Yes.
This weekend, Mike.
Yes, this weekend. Yeah.
I'm so envious. It's on my list. It is an Oscar qualifying, at least for short film festival. But so tell me about your life on the film festival circuit, because that's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, we're premiering a film called Slapface, and it's a film that I produced. That I also act in. So I play like the older brother. The film centers around this 12-year-old boy and this monster that he befriends. It's like this 7-foot-tall monster, this like witch creature that lives in the woods, and then this 12-year-old boy. And for the film, the thing that first drew me to the script was that it has everything fun and exciting and engaging about a horror film. Like it has the scares and it has the monster and everything, but it also psychologically deals with trauma and with loss and with bullying. So essentially the story goes that this little boy loses his parents, and the only friends that he has are these girls that bully him in this town. So he really has nobody, and he spends a lot of time in the woods, and come to find out there's this folklore of this witch that lives in the woods, and he meets this witch and they develop this bizarre friendship, and then all this bad shit happens. But like the film itself, I think that horror fans and thriller fans will like it for those elements. But it also, I hope that people will leave the theater thinking like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be a bully, or maybe I should talk to my kids about bullying, or maybe, just like a little something like that. So I'm really proud of the film. It has Dan Hedaya, who I loved ever since Usual Suspects. And then it has Libe Barrer, who was in that Amazon show Sneaky Pete.
Oh, absolutely.
And then the boy that plays my little brother is August Maturo. And he was on Girl Meets World, that TV show, but he was also in The Nun, which was terrifying.
Yeah. Very scary.
Yeah.
And you seem, I noticed from your film history, you seem pretty drawn to horror. Is that just happenstance, or are you sort of like a secret horror nerd?
I'm I became a secret horror nerd. I did this movie called MFA that my friend Leah wrote. And I produced this back in, I think, like 2016. And in that film, it was a film about a female college student that gets sexually assaulted and goes on this revenge mission to like kill a bunch of rapists. And so kind of like what we were talking about, like in this film, it has everything on paper that makes like a fun movie. It's like, hot girl kills frat guy. But then you think about it, and the film commented heavily on rape culture and toxic masculinity. And my friend wrote it. My friend Leah wrote it, and she's a brilliant writer. We had a female director, female star, and it was basically, I surrounded myself with badass women to make this project. And the response—
it's the only way to do it.
Yeah, actually, I will say that most of the films I think I've produced, at least over half, I won't say most, I'll say over half, have been written or directed by a badass female.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is
incredible.
Yeah, which I get along with people that know what they want, and they just happen to, have an X chromosome, and there you go. But no, but I will say that film that showed me that it's possible to make a film that's entertaining and does well commercially, but then also says something and that makes you proud. It came out the same year that all the Harvey Weinstein things were coming out. Mm-hmm. And then our lead was Francesca Eastwood, whose parents are Clint Eastwood and Frances Fisher. And Frances Fisher, I love just for, Clint Eastwood, of course, like.
Yeah, a legend.
Yeah.
Frances Fisher, she went on MSNBC and she talked about the Me Too movement and also plugged our movie. And she's like, "Oh, and go see my daughter in this movie."
Yeah, she did.
Like, yeah. And
thanks, Mama Eastwood.
Yeah. So I think ever since then, I've regarded horror as a way to really have that escapism and have that fun. And I do love horror. I mean, I've been obsessed with horror since like The Nightmare on Elm Street. As I was a kid, and then I couldn't go to sleep because Freddy Krueger was going to attack me.
Mm-hmm.
And now, now when I do that, I try to like have them have like a message.
Yeah. Oh no, I love it. I mean, that's one thing also, like I as a writer love to do is, I will give you genre. Don't worry. I'll give you a comedy, can give you a horror, give you all those things. But I think what takes it to that next level of like a higher art is that message, is that feeling of reality and relatability and, questioning yourself sort of a little bit at the end of a film that makes you think.
Well, you have to. And also like the best, most impactful films are films where people are sharing their stories and sharing their point of view and sharing, you either go see a movie for pure escapism because you want to escape your life, or to see yourself in a story or a character or be inspired. And I think in those stories, in those instances, the best writing that you're talking about is when somebody really takes a piece of their soul and shares it with the world.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Brandon, you got anything else for Mike?
I think I am good. Thank you so much, Mike, for taking time, and don't be a stranger. Let's not go 10 years without talking again.
So generous.
Brandon,
so generous for you to come on.
Sam, this has been great. I can't wait to see the next tattoo.
It's going to be a fawn with like Trixie Mattel drag makeup.
Okay. I can see that. I can get down with that.
Oh yeah, no, I love Greek mythology, so we're doing a whole like Bacchus, Dionysus, Party in the Woods drag fawn vibe.
Now, are you actually one of the shops to do, or are you going to go back to China?
We'll see. I've got some people here in Michigan that I like a whole lot, and I would love to check out some of their art, have it on my body. So we'll see. I'm not opposed. If the State Department wants to send me back, they certainly can.
I'm not even going to ask a follow-up question.
Don't. It's circuitous. I'm here now. I am a filmmaker now. Who knows, Mike? We could end up working together someday.
I would love that.
I think it'd be a blast. Well, thank you for joining us here on Couch Potato Queens. And now it's time for us to plug ourselves. Oh, so Mike, I am going to let you go first. First, I am going to pull up your social media, but where can the people find you if they want to keep up to date on what you're doing?
Yeah, just search Mike Manning. I think it's a little bit different on Twitter. There's some underscores or periods or whatever, but it's just Mike Manning. And,
okay. Oh, there we go. Mike_Manning_ on Twitter and Instagram at Mike C. Manning. There we go. Any other projects? You told us about Slapface. You told us about Son of the South. Any other projects that you would like to plug?
No, there's a few in the works, but I don't want to jinx it. So you'll have to have me back and then we'll talk about them.
I would love to. We will absolutely soon. Brandon, where can the people keep up with you?
You can follow me on Talk Entertain on Twitter. Instagram I got locked out of because it's been about 10 years, but hopefully bring that back.
And y'all, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Sam Meyer Comedy. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.